In this video, we're going to learn how to meet the minimum requirements outlined by the Office of the Provost for using a gradebook in D2L. To get started, let's go ahead and look at the resources we've already provided. On the CTE website, under Instructional Support, if you go down the page, you will see there's a lot of class preparation materials, and we've already linked to a YouTube video provided by D2L Brightspace setting up your gradebook. That's a useful resource. However, in this video, we're actually going to walk you through how to set up the gradebook in a way that meets the minimum requirements. To set up a gradebook, you're going to go to Assessment. If the nav bar is different for you or has changed, you will be able to find Grades, which is what we're looking for, under More or under Course Administration. You're always going to be looking for Course Administration. If it's listed by category, you can look around and find under Assessment, Grades. Of course, you may also search by name and just go in alphabetic order to Grades. Click on that. Upon entering the gradebook for the first time, you will enter the Setup Wizard. You can read all of these, but these are the defaults that you will see on each corresponding screen. Click Start. For step 1, it says choose your grading system. There are weighted options, points, or formula. For those just starting out with the D2L gradebook, we highly recommend using points. This is the case where you have a set amount of points for an assignment, and that's what the students earn. So if they get 20 points out of 20 points, it's going to be 100%. You can still organize things by categories, like assignments as a category or exams as a category. And finally, you can have the sub-items in that. As you can see, in this case, assignment 1 is worth 20 points, assignment 2 is worth 20 points, and as a category, there's 40 points total overall. Click Continue. The final grade released, we recommend that you always keep the adjusted final grade automatically released. This will allow students to see what their grade is all the time in the course, stopping them from having to email you to ask you what their grade is. Click Continue. We highly recommend that you drop ungraded items. If you choose to treat ungraded items as 0, it is like essentially having a student failing the course until a certain level. This is great for competency-based courses where a student has to meet a minimum threshold and then kind of track their progress towards it. But most students are going to be familiar with the drop graded item. So if you have 2 assignments, each worth 20 points, and you've only graded 1 assignment, they may have a 20 out of 20, giving them an A in the course. If another student got a 10 out of 20, they would see in their final grade an F. Of course, upon the second assignment completion, let's say the student who had the 10 out of 20 gets a 20 out of 20, now they have a 30 out of 20, and then their final grade would be calculated based on that. Again, we highly recommend you keep the final grade updated. Click Continue. You can choose which organizational scheme you prefer, letter grades or letter plus minus. Click Continue once you've selected the one that you prefer. You can choose how many decimal points to display. We recommend 2. Of course, none is okay as well. You can choose what should be viewed and displayed to students. We've already set those that make the most sense, points grades, and grade scheme symbol. So for example, a 20 out of 20, a 18 out of 20, A minus, and so on and so forth. Here we have final grade calculation unselected, but we might encourage you to select this so that the student always knows what their final grade is all the time. Once that's completed, you can review and get a summary and then click Finish. We now have our gradebook essentially set up. The first thing we'd want to do is look at our course outline and follow that as we set up our schema. So let's assume that we have 3 assignments and 2 exams. I would have likely 2 categories, assignments and exams. For the purposes of this video, we're going to skip the category and just go create a new grade item. You can always reorganize at any other time when you choose. There are many different types of grade items. For simplicity, I'm only going to show one because we assume that most instructors are likely using only the numeric approach. Click on Numeric. Here, I can name the assignment. I'm going to call it Assignment 1. If I had categories, I could add this assignment to that category. I did suggest that we should have a category called Assignment, the other one being Exams. So now we already have that category set up. If I was setting up the next assignment, I would call it Assignment 2, and so forth. Here, you can provide a description. Many instructors will take what's in their course outline and copy and paste that here. You can leave this checkbox unmarked if you don't want students to see that and it's primarily for your understanding of what to focus on, or you can allow students to view the grade description. Here is where you'll set the maximum points. It again should follow your course syllabus. Let's say, for example, the assignment is worth 100 points. If you would like to give bonus, you can let them exceed. Check this box if you would like students to be able to exceed that score. So in this case, you can see here that grades can exceed the maximum points. This is useful if you want students to be able to earn a bonus if they already have 100%. Again, anytime that you have questions, you can click these little icons. I could exclude the final grade calculation if this is more of an activity for assessment versus grading. And then again, I can change at any time the grade schema, but it's always going to be set on the default when we went through the setup wizard. Here I can add a rubric. We're not covering that today. The display options generally can be left untouched, but if you want to override anything, just click on that. This just sets the standard for every activity following that view. Let's go ahead and click Save and Close, but I could click Save and New if I was setting up my gradebook for the first time and wanted to add a second assignment. As you can see, that was pretty simple. Here we go. We now have some grade items. If I want to reorganize them, I can always come here, do some reordering. I can click on New Item or Category. If at any time you have linked a grade item to an assignment that exists, you will have less control here. But again, for the purposes of this video, we want the very basic setup. Let's go ahead and go to Enter Grades. Now you can see I have some students, I have my assignments, and they're awaiting scores. There are a couple of options you have here for updating. First of all, you can come here and drop this down and go to Enter Grades. This is great if you just want to come and type into a single format. Again, if you've linked to an assignment, once you grade the assignment, the gradebook would be automatically updated. So I'm going to go ahead and grade and click Save and Close. The other option I have, which may be more comfortable and familiar if you're used to working in an Excel spreadsheet, is to switch to Spreadsheet View. Here, I can update the grades. I see I've made a mistake. They are actually doing well. I meant to put 95, not 45. And then I can quickly update other assignments, for example, all from within the Spreadsheet View. I'm going to save and close. So that's basically how to create and set up a gradebook within D2L Brightspace. Of course, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can always reach out to the instructional design team here in the Center for Teaching Excellence. We hope that you found this video helpful. Happy teaching and learning.